So this video is going to be my complete opinion and a overall just tier list because it's a whole lot easier and the easiest way to just group everything. But I'm going to be giving you a comprehensive tier list of each survivor and how strong I think they are, and ranking them all in a tier list from S to F. F being, I believe they're entirely useless, S being, hey, they're really strong, and you should almost always be playing this if you want to help your team the most. With that being said, please do keep in mind that this entire video is entirely my opinion. Almost every survivor in this game can be good in the right hands, so don't listen to funny, silly internet human about what you should play. Don't let me dictate how you play your game. Instead, just listen to my opinion, hear what I gotta say, and I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. You should tell me your opinion, who you like to play, who you think's the strongest, yeah, all that jazz. I'm all for it. I'm not really going to be doing these in any order, but there will be timestamps in the description for each survivor if you just want to skip and see where one person's placed, whatever. But I will start with
chicken.
Shedletsky is always a really interesting survivor to put on tier lists because on one hand he has pretty much the strongest stun in the entire game and a self-sustained heal, so that would automatically make you think he's an S tier survivor, which he probably is. Yeah, I would definitely say he's the most well-rounded survivor. If you want to keep yourself sustained and help your team, Shedletsky's your go-to option. I would definitely put him in S tier, and I believe that is literally just because of that. He is the definition of a jack of all trades. You can do literally everything on Shedletsky. You can help save your supports, and then if you get hit in the process, go and heal. You don't have to rely on an Elliot to heal you. It just makes things a whole lot easier. If you want to learn more about how to play Shed effectively, and really any of these survivors, go check out my list of videos going over each and every survivor. I'll have them linked in the description. But for this tier list, yes, Shed is incredibly strong, and I don't think you can ever really make him terrible or bad by any means. I mean, he has the pretty much longest stun in the game and a self-sustained heal. That is more than enough to put him in S tier by far. He's good in last man standing, he's good in chases, he's good at protection, everything. He's incredibly solid. Best S tier I could go with. Next up, we've got Chance is incredibly interesting to rank on tier lists. On one hand, he is an incredibly strong sentinel with the only ranged stun in the game. That alone is enough to carry him very high on this tier list, as a ranged stun is always going to be incredibly strong. But there is no real quantifiable way to, say how strong Chance is, because he can be incredibly strong one game and terrible another game. He is completely based on luck, and that's what makes him so much fun. So for this tier list, I'm going to just base this off an average game of Chance. In this scenario, your gun's going off pretty consistently, you might have one or two mess-ups, but he is still incredibly strong. A ranged stun and the ability to have the most health in the game is always going to be strong. I don't think it's quite as strong as Shed, as you don't have the consistency that Shedletsky has, but you do have a ranged stun. Again, I'm going to keep hammering that point because it is so strong. Along with Chance's other abilities, I believe it carries him pretty nicely into the A tier, as I don't think, again, he's as consistent as Shed is, but he is definitely strong. He's not weak by any means, so I think A tier fits him pretty well. For our third character, we have... Okay, so for Noob and 07 and 7, I'm going to talk about them based on their survivability, as it's not really fair to compare them to a Shedletsky or a Guest or a two-time, anybody with a stun, as survivalists aren't made to stun, so it's kind of hard to quantify them when ranking them against other things like that. So instead, I'm going to rank them based on how well they're able to survive and pretty much pit them against each other. So just because you see, let's say I put Noob in the S tier next to Shedletsky, that doesn't mean he's as good as Shedletsky. It just means that he can survive well and does his niche incredibly well. So anyways, with all that being said, Noob's abilities are all focused on survival. Everything he in his kit allows him to buy as much time as he physically can. He is a powerhouse in last man standing and is completely selfish. You can play Noob in the most selfish way possible and win every single game ever. If you just play your abilities right, he is so unbelievably strong if we're going off of pure survivability. Again, he doesn't have very much team synergy, and he doesn't really have any form of healing to support his team. But if you want to play selfishly and solely survive, Noob is your person. So in that niche, in the two out of the two survivalists, Noob is definitely, in my opinion, the better. So I would definitely put him top of A tier, maybe S. I'm going to put him very top of A tier, but he could definitely go into S out of the two survivalists because he does his job the best. For our next character, we have...
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
07 is a very interesting case. He's one of the characters that has an insanely high skill cap. If you dedicate the time to get good at 07 and 7, he can easily be an incredibly strong survivor. Now, once you see my placement, you might be confused why I say that, as I don't really find myself enjoying 07 all that much, but this isn't about how much I enjoy it. I generally just find 07 to be a slight bit weaker than pretty much every other survivor. Trust me, before you come in the comments and start talking about how good 07 is, I understand completely. If you dedicate the time to get good with 07, he is incredibly good. But I don't really find that that time is worth it. I mean, like, if you have to do all these tricks and everything to make a survivor that good, you would just be better off playing somebody else, it feels like. I'm not saying he's bad, but against experienced killers, his niche falls off, as good killers will not fall for your clones. Good killers will not do this, do that. Everything. After a while, he literally just becomes... Clone becomes a paperweight, and Cool GUI is like a 10-second buyout. Once you get enough like experience with him, he can be incredibly strong with things like clone parrying, clone blocking, all kinds of different techs. But I do not find that that is inherently as useful as something like a chance shot or a Taph subspace. I don't think he's terrible. I think he can be good, but I think I'm going to put him in the B tier, as I believe he's a significant amount lower than everybody else. When it comes to survivability, like Noob though, he again is incredibly strong, but Noob is genuinely just your better option there. Whenever you want to play a survivalist that can solely survive, you are 90% of times probably going to be better off on Noob, unless it's a new killer and you're able to either trick them with clones, or you're an incredibly experienced 07 and know how to do all the 07 techs and can keep yourself alive for that long. In which case, he can be S tier. He can be one of the strongest survivors in the game. It's genuinely just about how much experience you have, but I genuinely don't find all that many experienced 07s or people who want to dedicate the time to do it. That being said, top of B tier, he's still useful, just not quite as useful. For our next character, we've got... Boom! Taph is a tricky one. With his most recent buffs, he has gotten incredibly strong, with his increased mobility while setting his traps playing a massive factor in him getting set up. If you really focus on setting up your traps in incredibly annoying spots, Taph can become one of the biggest nuisances to killers in the entire game. He can get so annoying to face, and it is incredibly strong if you know what you're doing. That being said, good killers can disarm Taph's traps pretty reliably, and it all comes down to your placement at the end of the day. Taph really just relies on your pre-planning and knowledge of different maps to really get his best out of him, but whenever you can achieve that best, he is incredibly strong. Even whenever you are a completely new player and you're just throwing down subspaces, it's going to waste at least a little bit of time, because the killer will either have to go out of their way to break it or just tank it and get stunned or whatever. It is so annoying. With all of that being said, I believe with the most recent buffs and everything Taph has gone through, in this current stage that he's at, I believe he is middle of A tier. He's incredibly useful and very strong in a coordinated team. And even on his own, he is incredibly strong and can last himself a pretty long time in chases and LMS. I'm going to put him in A tier behind Chance, but still A tier, very high A tier. For our next survivor, we have...
Sentry going up!
Builderman is an incredibly interesting case, because out of the 4 support survivors, he is genuinely probably the least played. I feel like I see the least amount of Buildermans out of all the support survivors, but he is very strong. On-demand slowness 2 from a sentry gun and guaranteed healing from a dispenser are both incredibly strong. While, like the Taph situation, his buildings can just be destroyed, it really isn't that much of an inconvenience as the cooldown of your buildings goes down while they're up. So normally by the time a killer comes and destroys your things, unless he's right on top of you, you'll have the cooldown back and can just kind of throw down another one. Dispensers usually go in places that killers never check, and once you communicate that to your team, they have an infinite source of healing that they can just keep coming back to. It is incredibly strong when played right. There are some dirty sentry spots on certain maps that you can just absolutely annihilate killers in certain loops too. He is very, very strong. With all of this in consideration, I believe I'm going to put Builderman at the very top of A tier. I believe there are support survivors that can do more than him, but I believe he is incredibly strong. I think he's going to be our complete top of A tier throughout the entire rest of the tier list. For our next survivor, we've got
Pizza!
And here's our next S tier. I don't know what you want me to say. On demand 50 health. If you have multiple, they can just give pizzas to literally everybody. He's the best form of on-demand healing and one of the only forms of on-demand healing in the entire game. If you don't have an Elliot on your team, you are at a significant disadvantage no matter what team you're playing on. Elliot is so, incredibly strong. If you are playing on a team with a competent Elliot that is able to dish out pizzas to people when they need them and isn't just kind of throwing them on cooldown, it is the most oppressive thing in the entire game, and there's nothing you can do about it on killer unless you just target one person out. As competent Elliots will literally just wait till the last moment, throw their pizza, and the person will be up 50 health. It is honestly so unbelievably insane, and yeah, Elliot, as the designated healer, and really the only designated healer throughout the entire game, he is by far the strongest because there isn't really anything else that can heal like he can. Builderman's dispenser is the only thing that even comes close, and even then it's so marginally off. Elliot is so unbelievably strong. Top of S tier, he's the best survivor in the game. You should always have an Elliot on your team, but if you don't, it's not like you're gonna just lose every game or anything. It's just you have a significantly higher chance to win if you have a competent Elliot playing on your team. Very, very strong survivor. For our next survivor, we have... I think Guest is an incredibly interesting case, as he can either be literally the best sentinel in the entire game, or absolutely terrible. It is all dependent on if the killer swings on your block or is just completely scared of you. On one hand, if he's completely scared of you the entire game, you can make a ton of distance and all this stuff, but if he swings on your block, you get a stun, you make distance, yeah. But if a killer is just so unbelievably unpredictable in faking you out and just... you can never get a block off, he becomes just kind of a 115 health punching bag, and he's not really the strongest in the entire game. That being said, the body blocking potential with Guest and his charge both make him pretty strong. He's not useless by any means. It's just that in very certain situations, killers can kind of force you to be useless, either not swinging on you or just literally targeting everybody else out. That being said, in Last Man Standing, he can be incredibly strong and literally just decimate killers. He's not bad, but he isn't the best. I believe Shed again is far more consistent than he is, as Shed doesn't need to land a block or any prior conditions. He just has his stun. Guest has to land his block and then actually hit it after he blocks. He has to hit his punch. I believe Guest has the potential to be better than Shed if you really devote the time to learning the mind games and are able to perfectly block every single killer. I think he can definitely be better than Shed, but from my own personal experience with Guest being my most played survivor by far, I still find myself being a little more consistent on Shed when actually getting stuns. I don't think Guest is bad, and I do think he is incredibly strong. It's just that the consistency of Shed is too much to pass up, so I'm going to put Guest in A tier right next to Chance, and I'll rearrange at the end to see if I want to put him above or below. Our next survivor is two-time. Where do I begin with you? If this was pre-rework two-time, he would be below F tier in super hell. But this is not the reality we're living in anymore, thank God. So... two-time is honestly a pretty strong sentinel. Having a second life is always going to be strong no matter what way you slice it, especially in a game like this. That having the prerequisite of him actually getting stuns though, that's the hard part. As two-time stun is incredibly risky but can be incredibly rewarding, especially with the dash stab. and his hitboxes are allowing for some absolutely crazy stuff to happen. I definitely think Two Time is very, very strong at the moment. He was incredibly overtuned whenever they first released the rework, and he would have been top of S tier best survivor in the game because he had all the self-sustain and the stunning capability in the world. But now that they have nerfed him and he's since gone, had a little fall from grace, but still is pretty strong. I think he fits comfortably in the A tier near Guest and Chance, as I believe all three of those Sentinels kind of like lumped together and are strong in their own different ways. And for our final survivor, we have Dusekkar is an incredibly interesting survivor, as he used to be incredibly broken whenever you could like map-wide spawn protect people. I believe he was definitely better there, but with his most recent rework making him a more mid-range survivor and giving him more buffing capabilities with his beam, I definitely think it nerfed him in the long run, as map-wide spawn protection was always going to be incredibly broken and stupidly strong. But I definitely don't think it knocked him down a tier. I still think he's super strong. I still think 15 health, over health on a beam hit, and slowness to the killer, and speed to the survivor, and you can still spawn protect, like, that's really strong. There's no other survivor that can provide a damage reduction to somebody. Your best bet on everybody else is literally just body blocking. So Dusekkar being able to do that and being the only survivor capable of doing that, I think makes him so unbelievably strong. It's an Elliot situation where if you have a competent one on your team, you are going to be better off than if you didn't. He is so strong when played right, and I think he deserves S tier. I think I'm going to put him right in S tier with Elliot and Shed. He definitely deserves it, 1,000,000%. He's so unbelievably strong when played right. I'll now give some closing thoughts. We'll fix up the tier orders and put everybody higher or lower wherever they need to be. And then I'll let you know my closing thoughts and if I still agree with everything I just said 5 minutes ago. And here it is, my final official Forsaken Survivor tier list from my own personal experience, my opinions, and everything I've experienced. Again, take it all with a grain of salt. You could think somebody's absolutely insane because you're the best 07 and 7 prodigy literally ever, and I would have no clue because it's all based off my experience. But yeah, I'd love to hear your opinions on all these different takes. Everything you have to say, I am so down to hear it. And subscribe. I'd really appreciate it more than you can imagine. Expect some more stuff from me in the future. Thank you all for 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. And goodbye.
Hey, Ash. Now that you finished all the Survivor gameplay, right? Like all the Survivor guides. That means I got my guide now, right? Like you're gonna do killers next, and I'm first, cause I'm slasher and all, you know.
No, slasher. You'll get your turn.
Hey man, this is unfair. You don't even know what you're talking about. I should have been next. It should have been.